So them rocks will never, ever have to open their mouth.
Because you're going to praise enough.
So, cool. but that to me in my faith is my sauce.
Okay.
You know, I'm wise enough to know that whatever common sense and education that I have, God gave that to me.
This is a journey.
Let me take you on a journey.
There will still be the journey.
The journey.
New sheriff in town, and his name is
the journey.
Journey.
This thing is bigger than Nino Brown. This is
the journey. The journey.
What is it that moved you?
The journey. The journey. The journey. The journey.
Welcome to another episode of The Journey. I'm your host, Larry Robinson, and today we got a Memphis icon that I know you're going to love. But first, we're going to get to our quote of the day. It comes from Susan Taylor, the great journalist known from Essence. What we believe about ourselves and our ability comes true for us. It reminds me of another quote, is so as a man thinketh, least he be. So listen, whatever you believe, good or bad, it's going to happen. So you might as well keep a positive attitude like our guest. Harold Collins, lifelong Memphian, Memphis Catholic graduate, entrepreneur, public service, devout Christian, friend, husband. Without further ado, we have Brother Harold B. Collins. What's up, brother?
What's going on, man? Thank you.
Man, thank you for joining us, man.
It's my pleasure.
Sharing your journey, I'm sure there's going to be many young men that say, okay, I got it. I got them pearls of wisdom.
I hope.
Right off the top, tell us about the neighborhood you were brought up in.
Well, from age birth until about 10 or 11, I grew up on Lauderdale and Trigg.
Okay.
My dad was a cab driver for 51 years. My mom never worked out of the house.
Really?
And so and it was 11 of us, and I'm the baby. And so my early years, walking to St. Thomas Boys Club down the street at Trigg and Lauderdale. Okay. Walking to Ace Sundry.
Don't go there yet. I'm just curious, who outside of your parents had the biggest impact on Harold Collins?
Oh, man. First of all, I would say my grade school teachers.
Really?
Because we went to Father Bertrand.
Okay.
And it was a family kind of atmosphere. They took care of you. They nurtured you. The nuns sort of made sure that when you did wrong, you got held accountable. And when you did right, they applauded you.
Okay.
In high school, I would say Mr. Richard Mostella.
Okay.
He was my band director.
All right.
He got, of course, a young black boy. Growing up, you always want to play the drums, but it was a whole line of guys to play the drums.
Everybody wanted to be on the
So he put a saxophone in my hand.
Okay.
And that's where I learned to play music and play the saxophone. And from that, I got a scholarship to go to Memphis State on a music scholarship because I didn't know how I was going to get to school. I thought I was going to be a basketball player.
Well, of course, we all did.
And so that saxophone paid my way through college.
Awesome. What decision did you make as a younger person that you didn't know was going to have lifelong impact, but ultimately did?
Young person.
Yeah, when you're younger.
when you're as old as I am, you got to figure out, you got to put them in brackets.
Which part of young?
Right. I would say as a high school junior, I wanted to be a Secret Service agent.
Really?
And the reason I did is because John Hinckley tried to assassinate President Reagan at the Washington Hotel in D.C.
Right.
And a lot of people don't realize, but there was an African-American Secret Service agent who held Hinckley to the wall with his left hand and had his Tech 9 gun in Hinckley's side with his right.
Wow.
And that picture stuck with me.
Okay.
And I said, that's what I want to do. So I did my research on Secret Service agents and what it costs and what it requires and did all of that. And then got to college and majored in criminal justice. Right. Because that was my path. And lo and behold, I end up getting an internship.
How different are you from the dreams of your younger person? You said you wanted to be a ball player. When did that change?
My daddy, I was fortunate to get some basketball scholarships. So back then, scholarships weren't 4 years. They were 2 years or 1 year, and you had to earn the next 2.
Right.
But Memphis State in music said, we'll give you 4 years scholarship in music. And my daddy, being a practical guy, said, you taking your behind to Memphis State because I don't have money to pay for college,
Right.
That was the decision that was made because, that's how you grew up.
Exactly. When did you know you were going to be okay? When did you know that you was like, I got this, I can do this thing called life?
Oh, man. I'm still working on that.
Really? Now, Harold, you've been very successful. I remember when you had the business. I remember with some of the people you roll with, because they always say, show me 5 of your friends and I'll tell you who you are. And I know you ride with some pretty high cotton folk. So when did you know that you was going to be all right at this thing called life?
I would say I knew that I understood this thing called life, not know it.
Okay.
Probably when I started my business.
Oh, okay.
Because then I had responsibility not only just for me and my family,
Right.
but I had responsibility for other folk and their families.
Okay.
Because I had to be there to open the doors,
Right.
make sure that the bills were paid, make sure payroll was there, all those kinds of things. And so once you start doing that on a regular basis, you figure you can manage it.
Right.
This thing called life changes daily.
Right.
Nobody knew that 2 years ago we would be in the midst of a pandemic,
Right.
which changed all of the things, the way we used to do things. And so I say to myself, you really don't get a whole grasp of it. You have to manage it on day to day because you never know what tomorrow brings.
Right. Right. What's your why? Why you get up every day and fight the good fight?
One, because I have a family.
Okay.
And they depend on me to do well. I have mentors that inspire me. I have a community that needs me.
Right.
I have a church that I need.
Don't we all?
My spirit,
Right.
My why is because if I don't, then who will?
Right.
And I don't want to be, there's a passage in the Bible when Christ was headed before the Passover and he was headed to be crucified, but the people were praising him.
Right.
And on his way, some of the servants were saying, man, tell these people to stop praising you because if you don't, they just need to quit. He was like, man, if these people don't do it, the rocks will.
Wow.
And so I keep rocks in my Bible simply because I believe that if I don't praise him,
The rocks.
them rocks gonna do that, man.
Wow.
So that's my why.
So here's the last question of this segment. Every brother I know has a moment when they realize that they are a black man, that they are going to be treated different from other folks. Do you have that moment?
I have several.
Okay.
One.
Hold on for a second. Listen, we're going to be right back on the journey with Brother Harold B. Collins. Stay right there. Don't go nowhere because he's about to drop some dimes on us. Be right back. Welcome back to The Journey. I'm your host, Larry Robinson, and today we have Brother Harold B. Collins, brother that has had many, many experiences. Father, husband, child of God, all of those things. But the one thing that he's really important, that's really important to him, has been corrections for a long time. But before we get into his life's work, we're going to talk about when Brother Collins realized he was a brother.
A brother, a black man, or the N-word,
Yeah,
whatever you call it, right?
Right.
Probably when I was about 13 playing basketball at the older, you're going to remember you're not familiar, Wind Branch Apartments.
Okay, Wind Branch Apartments.
And that at that point, it was multiracial.
Okay.
And I was playing some basketball, and some white guys come up there, and they called me Sambo. And you know, knowing the dynamics,
Right.
you realize, and I don't know if they were trying to be mean and hateful or in spite,
Right.
but the term,
Right.
right? Then I guess later on,
Let me ask you this: why that moment? What about that moment pierced your memory?
because I grew up Catholic, raised Catholic. We went to Father Bertrand, which is an African-American school.
Right.
So everybody in there looked like us, except the nuns. The nuns were white.
Right.
And so there was equity.
Right.
We were all equal. Now we knew that the other Catholic schools like St. Paul and St. Louis
Right.
had more money and they were huge.
Right.
But you know, we never felt that racial
Right.
divide.
Right.
Because we were a close-knit family at Father Bertrand. I think the second piece to that, the second part was I was working for a nonprofit here in 2000, maybe 17, 18.
Oh, wow.
I was driving out of driving my car, headed to get some lunch. I was, dressed the way I supposed to dress.
Right.
In my car, and some undercover police officers stopped me, pulled me over. They jumped in front of my car, blocked me in, pulled out, had their hands on their guns, yelling instructions to me. And I go, yes, sir, how can I help you? Now, I have been 12 years in the district attorney's office,
Right.
8 years on the Memphis City Council, had just finished
Running for
mayoral campaign.
Right.
Sometimes, And so here they are, yelling instructions at me. Who are you? Give me your driver's license.
Wow.
All of that. And I go, officers, can I help you? Shut up and give me your license and you do what I tell you. Yes, sir.
Wow.
And so I complied. Did what they told me to do. And so after they realized that I wasn't the person, I asked them, I said, can you tell me why you stopped me? Well, we got information that there was a car like yours in a homicide. Like, well, sir, you saw me pull out of where I work. You followed me from Martin Luther King all the way to Bellevue, across into Peabody.
Right.
Why didn't you stop me then? I mean, you knew where I worked.
Let me ask you how that made you feel, because
After I called the superior. After I called
Right. Because you've done a lot in this community.
Well, it reminds you that regardless of who you are, you could be dead in a matter of seconds based on your actions, regardless of who you are.
Right.
And keep in mind, this is like after Fernando Castillo, after all these other things that have taken place now.
Right.
And so the height and, anxiety on both sides, I'm not giving them a pass because they could have ran my driver's license, they could have ran my plate.
Anything.
They could have seen that DA sticker on my window, but I'm not gonna go there.
Right.
But what I realized then is, irregardless of where I go and who I quote unquote think I am,
Right.
I'm still
Right.
that dude,
Right.
that boy
Right.
in their eyes.
Wow.
And so,
Wow.
you know, it was,
Humbling moment.
yeah. Needless to say, I had a real discussion with, you know, their superior and, you know, those kinds of things.
Right. Right. So let's rewind. Let's go back. You talked about your childhood a little bit. Tell us about the dynamic, you know, who was in the household, because it was 11.
Right.
At some point, it was 11, but.
Yeah, I wasn't there when I, right.
Yeah, I'm
right.
sure it was, they
It
were
was,
gone. Some of them were
so
gone.
I was raised with my sisters because it's 3 girls, 3 boys, and then 4 girls and me. That's how the dynamics are.
Okay.
And so being a baby, I was raised with 3 other women.
Right.
Because my older brothers and sisters were grown and married and out of the house.
Wow.
And so Daddy drove that cab every day, Monday through Sunday. He worked from 6 a.m. to 2 in the morning every day, Monday through Saturday. On Sundays,
6 a.m. to 2 a.m.?
yeah. And so he would get up. Only reason why he wouldn't do it on Sundays is because we went to Mass. So he would get up about 9, we go to Mass. Mom would have dinner on the table. About 4 or 5 o'clock on Sunday, he'd get up, go to work again. That's what I saw every day. As a young boy, seeing my daddy go to work.
Right.
I didn't know that cab driving wasn't a lucrative career because
You had everything you wanted.
we had everything we needed.
Right.
It wasn't until I got grown and on my own that I realized what my father and my mother were dealing with and having kids, you know.
Right. 11.
Yeah, I got 2 girls and it's a struggle, but you know. And so that work ethic
Right.
was instilled in me early.
Early.
I mean, and so, you know, we didn't have the fanciest clothes. You know, we shopped at Kent's Dollar Store. A lot of, you again, from Memphis, most folk know Kent's Dollar Store or Woolworths at that time or Woolco.
Right.
You know, in the 8th grade, I got my first pair of Converse because my brother, Donald, came home from service to the Marines, and I was playing basketball, and I was sliding all across the floor because my shoes were bad. He went and bought me a pair of Chuck Taylor canvas Converse to play basketball in. Because we couldn't afford, you know, Daddy couldn't afford to buy those nice, you know, those things.
Right.
So yeah. But
quickly became your favorite brother.
Oh my God, absolutely.
Got you some Chucks, boy. Chucks were like gold back in the day.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. And I thought I was the stuff playing basketball at Father Bertram.
Jumping high and everything.
Man, what you thinking? Touching the nets, right? And so that's just how life was for us.
Tell me about a fond memory from that time, from that period of your life. Just one of them times, and man.
The boys club was the place to go, man. Again, it was African American run.
Right.
You know, it had pool, basketball. It kept us out of trouble.
Right.
You know, it was community. And so that to me, that's what you look forward to. You know, what broke my heart is our house caught on fire and we had to move to Westwood.
Man.
And so that's where I grew up, in Westwood. So I lived in Westwood from age 12 until I left for college.
So you changed neighborhoods.
Oh yeah.
What was that like?
That was the first time I ever seen gangs when we moved to Westwood. That's the first time I actually saw violence. You know, when guys would just jump you just because.
Right.
I didn't know
Right.
I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about that. And coming from a different neighborhood, you know, I tell people what saved me was my ability to play basketball.
Right. Gave you some social capital.
It gave me some social capital. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. Tell me about your teen years. You know, you went to school, middle school, high school. Where'd you go to middle school?
Middle school was Father Bertrand. It was
Father
from
Bertrand.
kindergarten to 8th grade.
Okay. Then high
Then Memphis
school?
Catholic was from 9th grade to 12th grade.
What was that like? Now, was Memphis Catholic was a mix?
Yeah, Memphis
mix.
Catholic was a mixed community. Yeah, you had everybody there.
What was it like going to school now with
With white folk, and
Caucasian-
Asians,
yeah, and everybody else?
Hispanics.
Right.
And, oh yeah, yeah. It was different.
Okay.
But we were all, again, community.
Right.
You know, it was for the love of the school.
Right.
You know, it's funny that I keep up with a lot of my classmates now, and again, you know, you find out, did I really go to school with this guy?
Right.
Are you the guy that was in the locker room with us?
Right.
You know,
Right.
how did this happen? You know, where did you change?
Right.
Right. They thinking the same thing. Well, Harold, where did you change? Right.
Right.
But that's how it was, because on the football field or the basketball court,
It's all in it
in the
together.
band, we were all together.
Right.
But it was, again, I mean, high school was just high school. Some great memories, some good people,
Right.
still friends today. Growing up and seeing them now, we become our parents.
Okay.
And so that's just
That's the truth.
how it is.
Tell me about your adult time. You know, you 2 kids, wife, businesses.
The best decision I ever made, I tell people all the time, is was asking my wife to lunch on a date.
Oh, wow.
We met at church.
Okay.
We were volunteering for the youth group called Super Tuesday at the Boulevard, back when it was on Rains Road.
Okay.
And I saw this person walking across the parking lot, and I ran out there. I said, hey, you know, can I take you to lunch? And she was like, sure.
Okay.
And it's been ever since. We've been married now 33 years.
Wow.
It's been the best decision that I ever made from that experience. You know,
Why has it been the best decision? What did she add to your life that you weren't getting anywhere else?
stability. You know, black men need a strong black woman to understand them and to give them the pat on the back that nobody else can need, you know.
What a kick in the
Or to
tail.
dust you off and say, you know, you failed. I know it's okay. You're going to be all right. We're going to be okay.
Right.
Go back out there and get them because I know you can.
Yeah.
When you get that from the woman that you love, you can conquer it all.
You can do anything.
Right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's talk about your career, man. You've been in law enforcement for, man, forever.
You talk about wanting to be a Secret Service agent. You know, I applied for law school. I didn't finish that, but I was blessed to be able to still focus on a career in criminal justice.
Right.
Through an internship from a judge in college, to working in the 24-hour clerk's office, to working in the criminal court clerk's office, to working for Mayor Bill Morris's administration, to doing private business, and then
What's your secret sauce? What makes you different?
nothing. God,
I don't believe that.
God
Don't believe that, y'all. Don't
God
believe that.
God gave me good sense,
Okay.
and He gave me a desire to not fail.
Right.
And so every place that I've gone, I've taken it upon myself to learn everything there is where I am.
Okay.
Even now as the deputy director, I want to know what's it like to be a corrections officer? What's it like to fingerprint people? What's it like to run the x-ray machines? Because I want to know how to do these jobs.
Okay, so what you guys just heard was perseverance. You just heard intellectual curiosity, and just a hard worker. So that is what makes this brother unique. Perseverance, hard work, intellectual curiosity.
And I mean, most of us have this fear of failure.
Absolutely.
And so when we start something, we want to finish it. We want to be successful at it.
Right.
Because failure
There's no
is not an option.
That's right. That's
And
right.
so, because you got to go home and feed your family.
Right.
And, you know, and we're blessed. You know, I mean, we're just embarrassingly blessed. One of my good friends said, "Man,
I love it when you say
if you know, it's so good, it'd be two of us." You know.
Now here's how it goes. If I was doing any better, I'd need a twin.
Right. That's how it is. That's how it goes. And so, I mean, God has just been incredibly good to us.
Yeah.
And so them rocks will never, ever have to open their mouth.
Because you're going to praise enough.
And so,
cool.
but that to me in my faith is my sauce.
Okay.
You know, I'm wise enough to know that whatever common sense and education that I have, God gave that to me.
Okay.
And so therefore, because he gave it to me, I'm going to use it to the best of my ability.
Today, what's your greatest success? What do you consider as your greatest success?
Raising my girls.
Okay.
My daughter's gone to college, got graduate degrees, professional women doing their thing. They laugh, they play. We still, you know, do that daddy-daughter stuff. I mean, those are my treasures.
Any regrets?
There are always some.
What would you do a mulligan? What would you take a mulligan on?
A mulligan would probably be, now I still believe I could have hung with Michael Jordan, but that's okay. So that mulligan would be, but here's what I tell people. You know, when I was in school, it wasn't about lifting weights and eating right and doing these things, you know? Had I known these things, I probably wouldn't have a new hip or a new knee, but that's okay.
Right.
But that's just life. So it's really not a regret.
Okay.
It is, in hindsight, if I had focused on that, you know, maybe.
Right.
But the alternative was in the band.
Right.
The guys that I play AAU ball against, I traveled to Final Fours to see them because they played, and I was in the band that played with them. So I still got to hang out with them.
Right.
You know, seeing the country the way it was through music, having the opportunities to meet so many different people who have poured in my life.
Right. Here, I'm gonna take you back real quick. You just moved to Westwood. You're sitting at the kitchen table. You're you now. Go back to that kid sitting at that kitchen table in Westwood. What would you tell him?
We going to the league. That's a commercial. That's my commercial. Right? LeBron. But what I would tell that kid is, your life will be fine if you follow the path that people give you. If you listen and pay attention to the things that you have to do and you do them right in the right way, you will be okay.
Right.
There will be some stumbles. You will have to start over on some things. You will be disappointed.
Right.
But don't let that absorb you and your desires.
Right.
At the end of the day, you're going to be fine.
Okay.
If you do those things that you're supposed to do.
All right. Now I'm going to switch it from you to you talking to any number of young men listening or watching you right now. Leave them with a Harold columnism.
My favorite is what you see is on top of the water. What you see, the calmness, the intellect, the good looks, that's just the top of the water. What you don't see is the paddling that's going on. That's work. And in order to be calm and collective on top, you gotta paddle. Otherwise, you will sink. Keep pedaling, keep working, because eventually you'll sit on top of the water and it'll be just as easy and smooth. That's what I would tell.
Wow. Well, he just told you. So I don't have anything more to say. but I told you you was going to enjoy this Memphis icon. Listen, this is the journey. We're going to keep bringing them to you. You keep coming back because we're going to keep bringing them. I'm your host, Larry Robinson. For the great Harold B. Collins.
Very
Thank
kind,
you.
man.
Thank you. And come back. All right. Thank you to our partner, the Grand Boulé of Sigma Pi Phi Fraternity Delta Chapter. To hear more incredible stories like this, be sure to download the KUDZUKIAN app from the App Store or Google Play, or check out the Journey Memphis podcast on all your major podcast providers. Also, check us out on the KUDZUKIAN Network.